of the youth movement or the youth search, and we appreciate that, and it inspired us from South Africa to Zimbabwe to Uganda and now to Senegal. I was in Senegal when Sonko was in prison, when the then president was trying to change the constitution so he could run again and again and again. But he took the steadfastness and strength of the people of Senegal to resist that. And that is how the new generation rose to the occasion. I'm just glad that the new leadership, the young leadership of Senegal was raised by the people, was mandated by the people, so they must be in many ways answerable to the people. Thank you.
So sticking with that same point of this meeting, a young Senegalese student actually posed that same question to me. And she said, why is it that in Uganda, the youths in Uganda are not able to duplicate what the young people were able to accomplish in Senegal? You explain that? And I think that ties into the tail end of the question that I posed. To what extent can youth-led political movements in Africa transition from protest mobilization to institutional political power?
Thank you. I'll say the young people in Uganda or anywhere in Africa are not just weak. They're doing all they're doing. They're doing all they can. Unfortunately, they are up against immeasurable force. I'll give an example of the youth movement in Tanzania that tried just last year to fight for their democracy. Reports show us that up to 10,000 young people were massacred on the streets, and there has not been any accountability. In Uganda, the movement that I lead, we have thousands, up to 3,000 of our comrades in prison for daring to raise their fist up and say they want freedom. You've seen that in many other countries, in Cameroon, even in Kenya where there was a Gen Z protest and all that. So the young people of Africa are rising to the occasion. It hurts me to say that I still strongly believe in nonviolence, although nonviolence seems to delay. But these young people, we, those that are leading them, are struggling to discourage them from violence because we see the kind of leaders that violence has brought to us. What was achieved in Senegal, I believe, can and will be achieved in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, and many other countries. But again, why do we, one would be quick to ask, why did you come to America? We come to America because why do we fight for freedom back in Uganda? And why do we use the truth and words as our weapon? We cannot fight against $1 billion. We cannot fight against American trained commandos that are staged as snipers to shoot down any young man or young woman that is seen on the street protesting with placards and banners and leading their friends. We cannot fight against the heroes that come from Europe. So, what we come to tell these administrations here, these Western capitals, is that we're not asking you to save us, just stop funding, stop sponsoring our operation, stop arming them, stop obstructing our moral fight for the values that you put us, for the values that you profess every day: democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights.
Maybe I'll pose 2 more questions and I'll open it up to Q&A. On the issue of Pan-Africanism, do you see meaningful prospects for stronger regional or continental solidarity among opposition movements in Africa, or at least struggles still largely confined within national political systems?
Yeah, I really struggle to speak from the point of view of an opposition leader, or even from the politician. I hesitate to refer to myself as a politician. I did not get into politics because I wanted it. No. It was desperation. It was lack of an option. I'm not the most qualified.
Can you talk a little bit more about that for people that are not familiar? Why did you say, I have no choice but to come and get in politics?
Well, thank you. I'm a musician, guys. You will not find a politician called BOBI when that's a musical name. In fact, a few years ago, I had my long breaks that I painfully had to let go in order to fit in that image of the person running for president. But I don't even use to dress like this. I'm a musician. I was a musician. That is concerned. But before then, as you know, stars are so sought after. And in a country like Uganda, the powerful and mighty love to associate with stars. So I was friends with all these military generals and all these powerful people. And it was alright. I was not affected by the oppression because I was rich, I was popular, and everything. It's just this one day when I was walking out of a nightclub with my Cadillac Escalade with 24 spinning wheels, when I was attacked by a young man, my age, but he was a security operative, and he slapped the hell out of me. What was my crime? Showing off. He asked me why I'm showing off. Don't you know this country has owners? Well, that was because all the girls were looking at me and that was the good of the night. That for me was a wake-up slap. It reminded me that regardless of my stardom and my musical success and my wealth, I was not safe in a country where there's no justice. And since then, I started changing my music from entertainment to edutainment and sang about the rights of the people and the oppression. And it took me a whole 10 years from when I was 25 until when I was 35. I realized that much as I was communicating, still nothing would change until I went to the platform where these words matter. And therefore, 10 years later, in 2017, I ran for MP because I wanted to go to Parliament and speak these words. So when I went to Parliament, in that election, good enough, the people are connected with my top line, and I won with 80% of the vote, competing against the main political party and the opposition party. Still, I did not believe in partisan politics, and we started a political movement called the People Power Movement. But as time went on, I was pushed to challenge General Secretary first to stay alive because I had become so outspoken that if I was not everywhere where the eye of the media would focus on me and I would be safe, then I would be in pain. So much later, I ran for president, and here I am. But again, why do I say that I don't want to be representing a particular grouping, even when I lead a political party, the main opposition political party in Uganda? I know that Uganda, like many other countries, is not divided between oppressors and the oppressed, not between ruling party and opposition, no, between oppressors and the oppressed. Why am I saying that? Because there are oppressors, even oppressed people, even within the ruling party. General Museveni's son, who is a military commander, had his birthday yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, and he issued an order that every soldier has to show up and run to celebrate his birthday. He issued an order that every government official must come and celebrate his birthday, even when he himself was not there. And he tweeted, when you check out his Twitter, he questioned why the former military commanders had disrespected him by not showing up for his birthday run. Now, everybody, majority of them had to show up because they're so frightened. Imagine a military official in a government of Kim Jong-un. They are scared to death. So those are oppressed people within the ruling party. And yes, they are oppressed within the so-called opposition. Because we have so many members in the opposition whose major goal is not to put an end to the dictatorship, but to improve their status within the circumstances. So, what I see as desirable is galvanizing the people, regardless of their political party, to, see the truth and follow the truth. Now you ask, how did we then morph from a political movement called People Power to a political party called the National Unity Platform? Now we unveil this political party only 1 month to the election, because our movement could not be registered. There was an instruction by government not to register it as a political party, and yet I was going to run for president, and many people that we associate with were running for various positions of office. We came to an agreement that we cannot just be, sloganeering, and we cannot just be complaining. We chose to sit down and present an alternative. And so we ran for leadership. We got an unknown political party. There are so many political parties that were, registered so many years ago, and they remain on the papers. So we signed it through a proxy that was crafted, but we have to do it. Through a proxy, we changed the system, and we had a delegates conference where the leadership of that party elected me president, and boom, we showed it. The regime could not change anything. They had no alternative. The international community was watching. So they let us run. And that is how we ended up being a political party. Why then do I think that it is necessary for other people in the same circumstances to do the same? Because there must be an alternative. We must criticize what's being done wrong, but also we must offer alternatives. Because when we remove the dictatorships, there shouldn't be versions. There should be ready alternatives to spring us to the next level.
Okay, final question. You ran for Parliament in 2017, as you recounted, and you defeated the ruling party candidate, I believe, by 2/3 or more of the vote. And then you endorsed 2 or 3 other people who ran for Parliament against the ruling party candidate, and all of them won. And then I guess the decisive showdown was in August 2018. Another parliamentary election in Arua, where Museveni himself went to campaign for the ruling party candidate, and you went to campaign for the opposition party candidate. And he panicked, I recall. And he accused you of inciting people to throw stones at his convoy. And the opposition candidate was arrested. You were arrested, beaten, and tortured. And the opposition candidate still won, even though Museveni had campaigned for his candidate. So I guess that was the decisive point that made you struggle. Partly, you came to the United States for treatment, and many people didn't believe you would go back to Uganda. But not only did you go back, you ran for president in 2021, and you ran again in 2026, even without the threats. Some people might wonder, why? Why did you do that? Is the risk worth it? Explain.
Every risk for freedom is worth it. Because in this life, we either live or we exist. I want to live. And you cannot live when you're not free, when you don't have the right to turn your own destiny. So I went back home because I have to go back home anyway, whether I'm alive or dead. You know, I went back home then because I needed to keep that hope alive. I had run for my life, but still, it wasn't a solution to stay out. You might ask me if I'm going to go back this time. Yes, I am. I'm only trying to make sure that I make it harder, or at least more costly. Yeah.
So now we go to the best part of this event, which is, of course, taking your questions from the audience. So let's see. Maybe we'll take 5 questions.
5, 6 questions.
Okay.
And if people come up and line up if you have questions, because we only have one mic.
Oh, I'm first then.
Please keep your questions concise.
Try.
So let's keep it brief so we can get everybody to
I'm sorry. Maybe if we could make the conversation, you ask the question, maybe I get to respond when it's still hot.
First, let me say thank you so much for bringing BOBI. I was so excited when I saw the video last night. I'm from South Africa, and I've been following your work and your struggles and your sacrifices. There's one question, but I'm going to list 11 issues that I think South Africa had that you don't have to which you are struggling in Uganda. South Africa, one, has the clergy, and the clergy, Desmond Tutu, had organized labor, that's number 2, had ANC exile, leaders in exile, with international work. It had the Amstrad, which was in exile as well. It had Nelson Mandela in prison. It had the mass democratic movement inside the country. It had international solidarity, friends against apartheid. Number 7, young white kids started to die in Angola at the Battle of Kutakule Valley, and the whites have started to complain. Number 8, international sanctions, economic, sports, and cultural boycott. Number 9, musicians in exile. We're highlighting the plight of the oppressed black people. Number 10, the civilized and civilians inside the country committed to making the country ungovernable. What do you have? That's why I said I'm struggling. What do you have? Because it looks like the odds are against you.
Thank you very much, my South African brother, Siyabonga. South Africa had all this. He had Mandela in prison, he had controversies where they come doing, it had clergy, it had musicians and leaders in exile, name it. What do we have? We have everything. Then the next question would be, why are you not succeeding yet? I'll tell you, my brother, we have a saying in our Uganda culture that that a person who you used to commit crimes with, or a person who you used to steal with, when they sleep behind your house, you won't sleep. Now, these African dictators are yesterday's freedom fighters, and they have studied the factors that those that are yearning for freedom, that those that are yearning for freedom get free. And unfortunately, not studied them for the benefit or betterment of their people. They've studied them in order to crush their own people. First, the clergy. We have the clergy. We have the Interreligious Council, which is supposed to be the most moral religious body in Uganda. Unfortunately, it has been reduced to a pool of subjugation. Just the other day, the head of the Church of Uganda was on TV telling Ugandans, I am not here to serve you. I'm not going to be like, we have a great religious leader, the Archbishop, the person who was occupying the same office in the days of Idi Amin was killed. His name was Archbishop Jana Nduwum. He was killed by Idi Amin for speaking truth to power. And now the person occupying that office is telling us that if you speak against the government, you will get killed, and I'm not going to speak against the government because I have a family. More or less telling us not to follow Jesus because Jesus was killed for the same reason. Number two, they are musicians. I'm a musician myself. But as we speak now, my music is banned in Uganda. And so many people are in prison for being caught playing my music live. There's a lady we banned her last year. Her name is Marinos. She was caught and raped repeatedly in the military for being found playing my music. And as if that's not enough, there is a budget enough to build 2 hospitals has been given to musicians to sing praises for General 7 because he understands the effect of music, the power of music. He used music in the armed struggle. Now, some Ugandans, of course, have made an effort over the years to start armed struggles. But General 7, his people have spent the last 40 years in power, stockpiling weapons. And we don't want to drive them to an area that they want. They've already named us terrorists. Even when we just terrorize them with the microphone and the guitar. So, we are cautious not to take them where they have strength, violence. That's why we maintain non-violence. I could go on and on and on, but the summary of that is the fact that these dictators have taken time to even get started people. Now, the freedom fighters in Uganda are not the intellectual. Generation how to free themselves. But they got those skills in order to immunize any other effort to liberate the dictatorships that they knew would come. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Legacy Ansari, the Department of African Studies from Ghana. So my question, when we were talking, we spoke about how power corrupts. So I have 2 questions. One, in what ways would you ensure that, once you also get into leadership, that power does not corrupt, those who come after would also not be corrupted. And 2 would be also, in terms of we see people liberated, starting to independence. When it came to time to construct a nation, they had real struggles or real problems as to building a nation. So now, Bobi Wine is now the president. What's next for Uganda, and also what would be our basically towards South Africa?
Thank you. About being corrupted with power. Yes, that's true. What do I think is going to be the solution to avoid that? I mean, everybody that is looking for power or looking for freedom, as we say, to present ourselves as if looking for freedom and people looking for power. And after getting that power tends to corrupt those leaders. So what is the solution to that? The solution is number one, make sure that we are not looking for a liberator, but are galvanizing each other to liberate ourselves. We don't need another big man, another big daddy. All we need is that population. And that, we are not going to do it when we get there. We must do it even now. Empower our institutions or build institutions. Because these institutions will outlive human weakness and human greed. We all know Papa corrupts. We've seen so many. I've already told you was named after Robert Mugabe. He was amazing then, but power corrupted him. I cannot promise you that power won't corrupt me. Therefore, let us make sure that countries that develop, countries that develop don't look at the leader, they look at the people. Countries like America here, or anywhere in all these democracies, they are not well governed because they have very good leaders. No. They don't stop this corruption because the leaders are so moral. No, you've seen that even here in America, you've seen exchange fires and all that. And I won't go into that business. These countries are well governed because the people are empowered enough not to take any nonsense from the leaders. So we should build an empowered citizenry to hold the leaders accountable, to make sure leaders are servants and not bosses, and to constantly remind those leaders that if they degenerate to what they pretend to fight against, they can and will be kicked the hell out. Leaders must be involved in a constant state of tension and be reminded that they are servants and they govern in the interest and on behalf of the people. So let us not look to the liberator. Let us all be liberators. I believe that is the best way. Finally, you're asking me what I think should be the alternative. Of course, like I said, I'm not here as an unknowing person. I'm here because I want freedom. I want self-determination like anybody else. For us in Uganda, and I believe in many places in Africa, what we want first and foremost is to have a vote. I don't need to be a world-class economist. No. I just need to have a vote and to have the entire population have the power to listen to what is presented to us and what she is presenting to us. And to have the right either to vote for what is presented to us or what she is presenting to us. We want a vote. We want the ability to be able to decide what we want, and that is honored. As simple as that. Thank you.
Mr. Sekam, thank you so much for coming. My name is Dennis Mozambique. Born and raised in Jinja. In 2021, when I was a man behind people, I was really excited to come back to Uganda and work for you. And I made it possible to the end time. And actually gathered up my fellow young people to come and vote. You know, we actually went back and forth with our parents. Because they were like, oh, we need to vote for this person. We're voting for BOBI. That's what we're doing. We wanted to vote for you. I can actually say counting fact because after the election there were so many roadblocks. We were rounding up people, young people and all that, and we had to pay some people to get those shortcuts out to the concern is there's been so many young people that have been imprisoned for the sake of liberating Uganda under the leadership of Mr. Sentano. What is the way forward for a lot of these young people that are in prisons? They've been there for a long time. They continue being arrested. We've seen in countries around East Africa like Kenya, where political parties have come together to negotiate the way forward. My question and my maybe plea is, would you be open to negotiate if that option was open? Or have you ever thought about that route? How can we move forward as a nation? Because if we have a giant in there that is unshakable, or we're trying to shake him, but it's coming at a big cost, a lot of people are dying. It's happening. I was in Zimbabwe, I went to school in Zimbabwe. And I saw what dictatorships do. Firsthand, I was there. We've seen the chaos in Kenya, where so many Kenyans are flowing, fled into Uganda because of political unrest. But a lot of political parties, I can't remember the name of the opposition leader at that time in Zimbabwe, I went to. Yes, they are kind of stepped up and God ways to negotiate the way forward. So, my youth had friends that have been in prison and have been in prisons. We have young people all over the country, Ginger, where they have rounded up some friends. They were released, but they were taken to the home. Why did they story about my question so much? What's the way forward?
Thank you very much, brother from Uganda, and I'm glad you started in Zimbabwe, so you have a grip of both lines. If I heard you well, are we willing to negotiate? Negotiate what?
Yeah.
I mean, everything that we're saying is in black and white. According to our constitution, it's not criminal to run for president. I ran for president. These young people stand up to support me because it is legal and economic. And we were nonviolent. We went out there to campaign. They were rounded up and thrown in prison for years. Some have spent more than 5 years. Others were killed. And yes, the regime in Uganda reached out to those who were in prison and told them that the only way they would leave prison is to accept that they committed a crime and to apologize to General 7 for being hoodwinked and fooled by me into going into opposition politics. Now I fail to understand what crime is there. Of course, many of them were forced to apologize and they were released. Others refused because they don't see any crime they committed. And again, they were being accused of terrorism. So the government told them, for them to be released, they must accept that offense, get out and get out. So for somebody to get attacked permanently on you for being a terrorist, it was unacceptable. Of course, they're kept in prison with no trial whatsoever. They just dumped there. And as of me, to negotiate, in a negotiation, maybe if I think in a negotiation, there's something you give and you take. Me, what I want is to have my comrades released from prison. What should I give? To promise that I will never challenge the 7 again? To promise that I will never talk about the wrong things that are being done? Finally, for us to negotiate, maybe the first thing should be to declare the law useless, because we have laws. I'm convinced that I've not done anything wrong because I've never been arrested or convicted, only harassed. So, for us to negotiate about something wrong, then that would mean dismissing the law. I am not after power. Power sharing is for people that want power. I just want to be free. And if there's a law, let that law be followed. Because, okay, for me, what if I negotiate and say, okay, I'll have such a position? What about those that are looking at us, that are looking at the truth that we're speaking? Does that mean that all of a sudden what we're saying is wrong? What we are pushing for is to see the rule of law respected in Uganda. It's to see human rights respected in Uganda. It's to see democracy respected in Uganda. So among those three things, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights, what would you want me to negotiate? What would you want us to give up? For us to say, we want them all because they are fundamental and are provided in the Constitution. Thank you.
Let's try to keep it brief because it's really sort of like press the time. So everybody, you have 2 minutes behind you. Go ahead.
Hi, nice to meet you, BOBI. I am Jason Isali Kurabu Shigoku. I was born and raised in Tinga, Kampala, and I'm a graduate.